like we have talked about open source program offices before, but at Verizon, how different is it from different? Because they do a lot of open source, but as you rightly said, it's always a mix.
So it's very different. If you look at my last three major career stops, Intel, a hardware company, it's very easy. Any use of compute resources is good because it sells hardware, easy. VMware as a major software company before they were acquired by a great example of a company that scales through open source, that brings value through open source, that they expand then through their products. Verizon is very different because Verizon is all about that telco, the network experience. So they don't lead with a software experience or with selling hardware. They lead with selling a service, a connectivity service. And so open source is far less the core of what we do. It's far more a big part of how we do it. So the OSPO role at Verizon is, by the very nature of the company, far more inward facing, far more internal, ensuring that we find viable projects to use, that we stay in the leadership when it comes to security approaches, that we obviously follow all the compliance legal side. So there is a lot more focus on what we do internally and a lot less on engaging with creating new projects, all these things that I did in my last two roles. And in a way, that is the other part to the answer of your earlier question, why haven't we talked in a couple of years? Because so much more of what I do is engaging internally with the engineering teams, with the security teams, with the legal teams, with the network teams, and making sure that we do the best we can internally.
One more thing is that, did they already have an open source program office, or you came in to set up some, open source?
Ironically, the answer is both. So they had an open source program office, but through a number of reorgs and the divestiture of Yahoo, for a short while there actually wasn't one. So I was brought in and I created a new open source program office from scratch. But they've had a long history of open source engagement. They've been a Linux Foundation member. I say they, that's prior to me joining, but we as a technology company have been very engaged in open source for a long time.
More like they had a Schringer's OSPO. It was there, it was not there.
Yeah, but actually Schrödinger is a great example because if a company has an OSPO by what they do. Are they doing the right things? Are the right priorities in place? Are the right attitudes in place? And certainly they are. It's not like I came in to rescue someone. No, they have a very strong engineering culture, a very strong compliance culture. This is one of the things when you join Verizon that is integrity, regulations, rules. There's a very strong commitment to the credo of Verizon. You can look this up online. It's something we talk a lot about, the values that the company stands for. And they very much permeate into what I do. And it's actually it's a fun place to work. One of the things that fascinates me about Verizon is, as part of our credo, we say, if there is a catastrophe, if there is a disaster, we run towards it, not away from it. This fundamental belief that if things go wrong, whether it's a hurricane or a bridge coming down or whatever natural disaster happens, the fires in Lahaina, any such thing, the first instinct of Verizon is that we need to send people there. We need to ensure that people have cell connectivity because the first responders rely on that. We have power trucks, lightning trucks, all these things to help people in a disaster, and that is a core of the corporate culture. And as a human being, there are often things where you say, yeah, I'm kind of part of my company. This is something where I get goosebumps talking about it. This is something that truly excites me, that my company very honestly and verifiably, every time things go wrong, we run there, we help. And that's awesome. It's a great place to be.